but you're not telling me what to say.
3, 2, 1. We are live now. Go on. Welcome, everyone. We are back on the stage, and I'll hand over to Dr. Marco. If you can hear us, please take over the stage.
Okay, as best I can. We've had a great 3 days. We've got a lot of discussion going on. This crowd, a diverse group of people in government, outside of government, business people, people from different countries, the U.S. and England. And I think that we've got the basis for something really great to happen here. And on behalf of, I'll just take the part for the American diaspora. On behalf of the 40 million of us in America, we are raring to go, and let's get something started and let's get something done.
Great. So, unmute yourself, Dr. Shem. We can't hear you.
Thank you very much, Madam President, Madam Joy. Happy birthday. Thanks a lot, Dr. Malcolm. Thanks a lot, Governor Professor Nyong'o. Thanks a lot, Honorable Abike, who should be joining us from Abuja anytime now. I can't thank everyone who has been with us for the past 3 days. And also those who have been burning midnight oil planning for this event for the past 3 months. Actually, for the past 12 months since we did announce we were going to have the first Africa Diaspora Symposium come the 7th annual Kenya Diaspora Homecoming Convention. That was done December last year. People have made us to come this far, and we'll, in giving vote of thanks, we'll mention. But I could start by thanking our guest, chief guest of honor was CS Devolution Eugene Wamalwa. We had Right Honorable former Prime Minister, AU High Representative of Infrastructure, represented by Honorable Jared Okello. And we had Honorable CS Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Rachel Mamo, represented by Honorable CS Chief Assistant Secretary, Chief Administrative Secretary, Honorable Ababu Namwamba. And we had Honorable Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, CEO of Kenya Film Classification Board. Kenya Film Classification Board happens to have been our major partner in this event, among another dozen of partners that we worked with. We'll just read their names at the end. For now, allow me to welcome into the meeting Honorable Professor Excellency Anyang' Nyong'o, Governor of Kisumu County. I know there's been a little of chat before. People were talking about Lupita Nyong'o or Nyong'o, whichever way they wanted to call her. And I was saying we will be delighted to host the father, next of kin to Lupita Nyong'o. So we're delighted Professor Nyong'o came all the way from Kisumu to join us. We don't take it for granted. He's been a pretty good friend of the Kenya/African diasporas. We had yesterday's colleague, Professor Excellency Governor Kivuta Kibwana. The two of them among our very progressive governors. We don't take you for granted. So, Honorable Professor, I salute you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
And welcome into the meeting. Because you have two big shoes, I don't want you to talk after me. After me, I'll just move vote of thanks. But allow me to say a few things I wanted to say on behalf of the contemporary diasporas. Dr. Malcolm, who is with us in the house, traveled all the way from Washington, D.C. to Nairobi just for this event. And we were delighted. For the first time, we were joined by very senior personnel of the U.S. government, Prosper Africa, that brings together 11 major state agencies, ranging from USAID to to DFC, that's Development Finance Corporation, to OPIC, to Exim Bank, but also Corporate America, ranging from Constituency for Africa, Africa Caribbean Business Council, American Chamber of Commerce, and so on and so forth. And we had private sectors from Africa, Nigeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Kenya, and so on and so forth. The only two things I'll say, one is this was just a first, and we were laying the foundation. In the year 2022, December, we will be in Nigeria for the second biannual Africa Diaspora Symposium. And we hope our partners will walk the journey with us. Along with it, we will be having next year, December 2021, on the dates from 7th to 9th December 2021, we'll have the 8th annual Kenya Diaspora Homecoming Convention. And I'm delighted Madam Chair Abike just came in. As I was saying, in 2 years' time, we hope she and her colleagues in the private sector will host us in Nigeria. Having said that, the last thing I wanted to say is we recognize that Africa's problem must be solved by Africans. And by Africans, I do not only mean the Africans on the continent, but also her diasporas, both contemporary as well as historical. And we're delighted in this event, we had them from Brazil, literally from every part of the world. Lastly, I may just mention that there seems to be a big problem, of course, with COVID. But we are also hoping, as the rest of the world tries to find answers, our scholars and scientists are also burning midnight oil. We are praying and hoping that an answer will come also out of the continent. So fingers crossed. Without much ado, Honorable Professor Nyang' Nyong'o, I want to invite you and thank you in advance. You've been a true friend to Kenya Diaspora Alliance. The floor is yours, Excellency Governor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shem. And I want to thank our colleagues who are in this meeting, especially Malcolm Beach, coming all the way from the US at this time where air travel is kind of regarded to me to be not all that safe, but I think it's safe enough for people to get across oceans and to other continents. And we hope that you enjoy yourself in Nairobi, especially with Shem there. You're bound to enjoy yourself one way or the other. If you have time, come up to Kisumu, let us know. We shall, of course, entertain you to our very, very sweet fish called ngege, which is now renowned the world over. Having said that, Shem, look, quite honestly, we who are managing the evolved government in a place like Kenya know very well how difficult it was when COVID struck like a thunderbolt from nowhere, that we suddenly found much more isolated than the national government. Because the national government and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to tell them what is happening internationally. They have conventions which govern international, the international architecture. And we always assume, we take it for granted, that these conventions will be applicable at any time in history. We take it for granted that the international highways, either through the air or through the sea, or even through the internet, will always be there as a matter of course in life today. When all those suddenly were interrupted or interfered with by COVID protocols the world over, we're even more isolated than the national government was, because our point of reference in terms of international communication was itself disabled. And people suddenly realized that for the sake of guaranteeing the lives and livelihoods of our people, we had to be much more ingenious than we had thought before. What surprised us really, and I think it's something that we must carry into the future, was the way in which the local populations responded very innovatively to this crisis. the way in which the local population responded to some of the suggestions being made in terms of protocols, because I think in the event of a pandemic, human beings always rush to get safety somewhere. And if they could get safety by obeying these protocols to begin with, they were very quick to do so. It's very interesting that over time, as we become much more accustomed to something, people seem to drop down their guards and think, well, maybe it wasn't that bad after all. Maybe we should go back to our usual ways and live the lives that we know. We go back to our comfort zones. And then as they are doing that, COVID even now comes with more vengeance. The point that we are at now in most counties is that as people were dropping down their guards, we suddenly are seeing a much more serious attack of COVID around the corner, if it has not already struck. I think in Kisumu County, when COVID started, it took us a long time to lose 2 people, a very long time, maybe 6 months or so. But now it's very common. Now very common to hear that so-and-so has died. He died of what? COVID. So it's in hospital for what? COVID. So that the pandemic is perhaps much more serious when people are least, I would say, least alert or least defensive, would I say. So it takes government now much more effort to convince people, yes, please don't take these deaths as isolated. They can even come onto you. Now, it means therefore that those of us who read news, who listen to news internationally, those of us who get to know statistics from elsewhere, and mainly people in government like myself, are perhaps much more scared of the future than the ordinary human being in the villages, you know. Now, why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this story because in the final analysis, if Africa is going to survive, we must make sure that people survive at their places of living, be it in towns or in the rural areas. How are they going to do it? They must be able to do it by taking as much advantage of modern science and technology, which, as you say, we expect to get a vaccine and use it around the corner. But then these people must be prepared that is going to be a possibility of surviving into the future. And because of complacency and because people have dropped their guards, it is not going to be an easy task, by the way, convincing people that taking the vaccine is something in their interest. I remember when I was growing up, and we used to be compelled to take vaccinations of all kinds from the colonial government. People used to disappear into the woods, avoiding being vaccinated against smallpox, against polio, and things like that. And you had to be grabbed by your parents and made sure that you get those things. And then in the end, for example, I had a job here when I was a kid. I was so angry that I didn't even look after the wound. And I still have a scar here as a result of my rebellion against getting a job. Now, those are the things we are facing that those of you who come into this conference should know that the reality on the ground is a little bit more complicated in terms of safeguarding lives, safeguarding lives and livelihoods into the future. But there's a brighter side of this story, which we experienced over the last 2 days, from Tuesday to Wednesday. We held in Kisumu what is called the Kusi Ideas Festival in partnership with the Nation Media Group. And the Kusi Ideas Festival was being held in Kisumu for the second time. Last year it was held in Kigali. And even in Kigali, Kisumu County and Nation Media Group were in partnership with the Rwandese government to host the Kusi Ideas Festival. What is the idea about Kusi Ideas Festival? The idea is that in many centuries ago, the Eastern African coast traded very effectively with Southeast Asia and the Asian subcontinent, from Ceylon to India, Pakistan, and up north from southern India. And there was a thriving civilization at the coast, which was identified by growth of cities like Mombasa, Kilwa, Malindi, and all that. And there's actually, if you go to somewhere between Mombasa and Malindi, you will find something called the Degi ruins. Where Degi city stood, there was very complicated architecture. But from some reason, I don't want to go into the Degi civilization crumbled some time ago during the Portuguese invasion. Nonetheless, the importance of Kusi Ideas Festival is that the winds called Kusini winds. Kusini in Swahili means southern. Now, when the winds were blowing towards Asia, they were called the southeast monsoons. When they were blowing from Asia to Africa, they were called the northeast monsoons. Now, the ships that sailed from the Eastern African coast to Asia were wind-propelled ships with huge sails and very complicated technology in building those ships. I've seen some of those ships, the relics of those ships in the port of Genoa in Italy, and you cannot believe how complicated that technology was for those days. Each ship might have even 10 sails, and those sails had to be placed in a certain way to catch the winds to go a certain direction. Now, we, by organizing the Kusi Ideas Festival, we are asking ourselves one question. If in those days, pilots or captains captaining these ships in the Indian Ocean were so sophisticated in terms of science and technology, and so innovative in terms of using wind to propel this trade, where did that science and technology go to? And can we in Africa of the 21st century be as innovative, as an inventive, using science technology to deal with our problems? What COVID has taught us that yes, we can. Because here in Kenya, for example, at Kenyatta University, the students invented their own ventilator, which when tested the Kenya Bureau of Standards was even much more efficient and much more sophisticated than the ventilators from China. People started making masks of all kinds in tiny, little, small and medium enterprises, both in the rural markets and the urban areas, to supply these masks to people without any directive or any regulation from the government. But the government welcomed it because people had to protect themselves against COVID, one way or the other. People started inventing all kinds of concoctions to drink and to vaporize themselves. And apparently, otherwise COVID would have been much more dangerous in the rural areas than we think. So we need to do research into these things and realize that faced with a danger, we can go back to where our sailors and captains were during the Kusi winds, or Kusini winds. Now we call it Kusi Ideas Festival, with new ideas that can help us conquer nature and defend our lives and livelihoods now into the future. Now, of course, I think sometime last year I was in Memphis, Tennessee, and the guy there was very close to Tom Mboya during the airlift, very close to Martin Luther King in the days of civil rights. And they were telling us how during those days of extreme racism in Memphis, people used to know how to defend themselves against the white racists, and how in the midst of being harassed by the police, they used to invent all kinds of things to defend the people on the streets, you see. So that to them, the adversity of being oppressed prevented them with the opportunity of defending themselves and living and producing their livelihoods under very difficult circumstances. So the circumstances under which we live in Africa, to me, is a challenge to build for a better future, to be much more resilient. And in that regard, of course, resources are always needed to do, because we can't run away from it. Technology is not that cheap. What the Japanese learned is that if you are going to defeat the English then, which were regarded as the most advanced civilization in those days, you have to take your students to the best universities in the UK, Imperial College London and so on, and then get to know how the Rolls-Royce works, take that knowledge back to Japan and get the Toyotas of this world made from the technology of the Rolls-Royce, and it becomes a Japanese vehicle. I think that approach is not yet It's not yet over for upcoming economies like ours. Singapore did it too, took their students to the best universities abroad, and they came back into the civil service, and copying the Chinese civil servants of old, that you only advance in the civil service if you are excellent. The very excellent ones go to the top, and those who are not so excellent do not go to the top, but they work as a team in an advanced civil service that can propel a nation through good governance into the future. I think we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are examples galore in history, which we in Africa can use. Of those who are in the diaspora and are in touch with some of these advanced technologies and advanced institutions, we're perhaps our best partners, especially if you like Uchuodo come from Kenya and is a child of two worlds, a child of the West and a child of Kenya, struggling across the Atlantic continent, Atlantic Ocean, to bring Africa and from these two continents together for defending lives and livelihoods and supporting lives and livelihoods of our people in the context of our time, as Amilcar Cabral used to put it. When Amilcar Cabral was giving a lecture in Lisbon at one point, and he was saying that he was leading a revolution in Guinea, somebody asked him, how can you do the revolution where there are no mountains, where your soldiers and your militants are going to hide? And he made a very simple answer. Our people are our mountains. And then the fellow said, well, Amilcar, I can see that you're a very good revolutionary. Then he said, no, I'm not a revolutionary. I'm a simple African man doing my best in the context of our time. So I guess in front of me, I can see a simple African men and women doing their best in the context of our time to make sure that these continents survives in the promotion of the lives and the livelihoods of our people, notwithstanding COVID. I think one of our professors reminded us the other day in Kisumu, Professor Kamarogo, let us not speak of post-COVID because we don't know how long it is going to last. Let us say we are going to do things notwithstanding COVID, because talking of post-COVID is not being unscientific, because the scientists have not yet agreed what vaccine will be used to defend ourselves against COVID, nor have they agreed how long COVID is going to be around. It may not pass away like the Spanish flu. It may be with us for a much longer time, like polio, which, notwithstanding all kinds of vaccines, still attacks people in our hospitals. So we must live with it. So notwithstanding COVID, notwithstanding polio, our people's lives and livelihoods must not only be protected, but promoted into the future for an African continent which perhaps will be the next center of civilization, as it was once, in the next millennium. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
So much, Professor Nyong'o, greatly appreciated. You know, in normal life, we would clap for you. In the new normal, it's a little different, but we can still clap for you. And on behalf of several others and tens of thousands who are following virtually, this being a hybrid event, but both virtual as well as in person, as well as on site. So we're delighted, we really appreciate that you could find time. Allow me at this point to welcome in Honorable Madam Chair, Abike Dabiri Erewa. We had greetings from her through a good long-time friend, Madam Ibikun Odusote, who with about 12 other African internet pioneers, 25 years ago, we were at Yaba College of Technology in Lagos, struggling, waiting for 15 minutes just to get a telephone dial tone to connect Africa to the world through the net. So Madam Odusote did stand in for you during the opening day. And it was my pleasure and duty to invite you. We do know there were tech challenges, but again, this is part of the new normal we are. As a matter of fact, Professor Nyong'o, even as this is happening, there is a virtual exhibition that's also ongoing on the screen, on the left of your screen. So if you want to visit the expos, much of that is going on. And there are also sessions that are taking place virtually. Very few. We do believe this is the first time, and I can talk with a fair amount of authority on this, being an African internet pioneer. This is the first time this is happening on Africa's soil. And going forward, we expect to see much more of this happening. Africa being truly part of the fourth industrial revolution in the real sense of the word. And Professor Nyong'o, just before I invite Madam Chair, as you said, we do know we did the pyramids. We also know we did the Timbuktus. We also know we had the Mandelas. We had the Oprah Winfrey's. We had the Fela Kutis. We had the Kipchoge Keinos. We can still do it. And it's on that regard I want to invite Madam Chair, Honorable Abike, please address the audience. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I pay my respect and compliments. And I'm so sorry, due to technical reasons, we couldn't just log in yesterday. I could hear a bit of what was being said, but you couldn't hear me. But I'm really glad that I had to shelve a few things to be here this afternoon, because I think this is very, very important. Connecting. You see, and I'm sorry I missed everything that was said yesterday and today. So I won't go into any long speech. I will just, speak on what I believe has been the purpose of this webinar. And I heard my brother there talking about, Africa. I mean, we have everything. So what is our problem? Why is the continent the way it is at this point in time? If we had the pyramids, we had everything, why are we on the low rung of the ladder? And as I've always said, nobody will do it for us but ourselves. As long as the world continues to look down on on us, and as long as African continent remains the way it is, the world will continue to look down on every Black person. So here's the thing about the diaspora, and this is my message to everybody in the diaspora when we engage with them. Wherever you are in the world, you need to connect with the motherland, with the continent. And those of us on the continent have a major role to play to make that happen. Now, the Nigerian government, for the first time, set up what we call the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, which is where I came in to be the pioneer chairman of the commission. We were set up May last year, so we're just about a year and a few months old. And I want to thank Mr. Dushote, who played a critical role in that, because she was a permanent secretary. One of those periods when the issue of diaspora was coming up, and she really played a critical role. So first, I was in parliament for 12 years. While I was in parliament, I think my second term, the speaker then went around, met Nigerians abroad, and came up with the idea of having a diaspora committee in the House of Representatives. And I became the pioneer chairman of the House Committee on Diaspora. And honestly speaking, I didn't know how huge it was. I had no idea. Now, a bit of politics, I was in opposition. And in opposition, you don't get any, they just give you the crumbs. So it was like, give her diaspora. Let her just handle some diaspora. So it's like, what diaspora? In quotes, I don't know about where you come from, but it's like, oh, it's not one of those grade A committees. But I really didn't care. When I'm told to do a job, I do it well. And honestly speaking, it's been one of the most challenging and most important jobs anybody could have told me to do. So we started looking into the diaspora and all that. And Nigeria, we have about 17 million Nigerians in the diaspora. As I speak with you, they remit $26 billion to the country, the fifth largest in the world. And we now realize that we want to tap into this human resources that we have as Nigerians abroad. So we started engaging them, started working with them, started connecting with them. I tell you, it's huge. So as a Diaspora Commission, our main policy is harness the human resources we have in the diaspora. They call me
We are losing her. Okay. Please, Mr. Dr. Shem.
Okay. When we get Madam Chair back, maybe with a light touch, she reminds me of her push in Parliament for Diaspora Affairs when the Right Honorable former Prime Minister addressed as keynote to this event. I was as pleasantly surprised and shocked he could remember in his speech. He did compliment Honorable Shidie Mohammed and Honorable Shem for having moved in the year 2001 the first dual citizenship bill in the Kenya National Assembly. So in a way, we have shared a bit of that history. But what stunned me was not the fact that this happened in 2001. I didn't expect the Honorable Prime Minister to remember that and maybe go into the archives of the Hansard of Parliament to dig that out. But notwithstanding that, as we wait for her to come back, I may just mention some of the people who are going to compliment in the vote of thanks with permission of Excellency Governor Nyong'o. Part of these hiccups are normal in a situation where we're doing this for the first time. I hope Madam Abwike comes back. I must also compliment Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, who is Vice Chair of Parliamentary Implementation Committee. He is working on a bill, almost like an omnibus, a diaspora bill, to look at how do we fully mainstream diaspora, ranging from diaspora voting to incentives to invest, to mainstream them, maybe consider 1% involvement in the county governments, so that we start to link up with them and bring them to mainstream them, not only at the federal stroke national government, but also governments. I can also not forget to thank Right Honorable Claudia Weber, Vice Chair of the UK Parliament's Defence and Foreign Relations Committee, who addressed this event. I cannot forget to also thank Judge retired Peter Herbert, President of UK Black Lawyers Society, half Sierra Leonean, half British, who was member of the planning committee. And in that regard, I cannot forget to thank the many, there is an army of about 100 people, Excellency Governor, that Dr. Malcolm here is part of. I can't mention them all, but a few of them, just as we wait for Madam Abike to get back, I could mention, but maybe at this point, just in fairness, Dr. Malcolm, any brief reflections, and then Professor Nyong'o as we wait for Madam Abike. Dr. Malcolm, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that, just speaking about America and the offerings of Prosper Africa, it's about $16 billion that are targeted for African economic development. And this is for trade, doing business, not aid. Okay. And the idea is that the diaspora in America has an opportunity to come back to Africa with some money. Okay, so, but we're looking for joint ventures between African entrepreneurs and American diaspora entrepreneurs, and let's do some business deals. And that's what we're hoping to accomplish. And we've got an organization, African Diaspora Business Roundtable, is made up of 35 Black chambers of commerce across America that are eager to find new opportunities for their members. So we are anxious to engage. And I think that this conference is going to be a gateway to that engagement, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malcolm. Elder Professor Nyong'o, I know you can, of course, wearing your hat of former member of parliament, you can step in for your sister, former MP as well, Madam Chair. If you have any thoughts here. Sorry for the informality, Prof.
That's okay, Shem. Actually, I would really like what Bike was saying regarding that diaspora initiative in Nigeria, and of course, Shem, here you did it. Now, one thing that I've experienced as governor of Kisumu is the importance of our people in diaspora. I'll give you two examples, actually. As you know, sickle cell anemia is a disease that is very common to the Lake region because of the predominance of malaria in that area. Sickle cell and malaria are very close together, you know that. And up to now, it has not been possible to to prevent sickle cell anemia. Now, we have somebody from Uganda, Dr. Charles Otieno, who is a professor at University of California, Los Angeles, School of Medicine, and also a fellow at Acres of Hope in Los Angeles. It's a research center, mainly doing research in cancer and so on. And sickle cell is kind of very close to cancer, by the way. Now, they have done research down there, and they come up with a technology and some kind of pharmaceutical product that can detect sickle cell within the first 7 weeks when a child is born, and therefore give the child some vaccines which protects the child from being attacked by sickle cell. Subsequently, now the experience has been that if you are a sickler and survive your 24th birthday, you are doing very well. But Charles has been working with us from his abode in UCLA. He comes home occasionally and brought us a machine and trained our nurses and doctors how to detect sickle cell within the 7 months of a child. And it's a very successful program, and he's intending to kind of escalate it. Now, it happened at a time when we are also building a comprehensive cancer care center in collaboration with some diaspora people from the US, particularly Massachusetts, Dr. Alaro, for example. And Dr. Alaro and his colleagues actually have worked with that very closely together with Varian Company, which has an office here in Nairobi, to develop this comprehensive cancer care center on the basis of Varian with suppliers with linear accelerators, and also help us build our bunkers because they know what's required for the linear accelerator to go into these bunkers. And to me, this is a very good example, kind of a joint venture that Malcolm was talking about, because they will give us the equipment. We don't need to pay upfront, but they will work with us in the business model so that as we use the linear accelerators for radiation over the years, we pay them back. And Laro has come back with a business plan which shows that how, given the kind of occurrence of cancer in the region, how many linear accelerators do we begin with, and how many bunkers we build? Over 10 years, have an extremely exciting project, which demonstrates what Malcolm is saying, that if Prosper Africa can support this kind of arrangement, we can get a lot of advanced technology, particularly in the medical sector, and deal with a lot of maladies that are ravaging us in Kenya. I remember there's this professor at Harvard who wrote a very interesting book about cancer, calling it "Cancer, the Emperor of All Maladies." I guess this kind of initiative can dethrone the emperor to where he belongs. Thanks.
Right. Well, thanks a lot, Excellency Governor. Now that you were mentioning Dr. Laro, he happens to be a member of the Diaspora COVID Task Force. You also mentioned the Cancer Center. Dr. Manu Chandaria, the Aliko Dangote of Kenya, was recognized on Tuesday as Kenya's first diaspora ambassador for the role he has done before. And he, of course, made commitment to participate. Wherever the diasporas are doing a cancer center, he'll play a modest role. So without much ado, welcome back, Madam, my sister, Honorable Madam Chair. Over to you. Sorry, you can unmute.
Yes, I think I'll just be very brief because I know a lot of issues have been covered. And again, thank you for having me. And I'll join the conversation. I want to take it from what my brother, Mr. Malcolm Beach, spoke about. Now we have the Diaspora Commission, and we're saying that, number one, we all must connect as Africans in the diaspora, wherever we are. We are beginning by connecting with our own Nigerians in the diaspora who are excelling all over the world. The highest government official now to head the U.S. Treasury is a Nigerian. He's going to be the deputy U.S. head of Treasury. And we have 3 Nigerians that won their seats in the parliament, including one African American who changed his name to a Nigerian name. He's African American, but he took up Nigerian names. So how do we do that connection? Now, with what you're doing here, and I'm glad that we have people like Mr. Malcolm Beach here, we need to have that connection. Africans on the continent and Africans in the diaspora. We have a program called the Door of Return. It's different from Ghana's, what Ghana is doing. What we do in Nigeria, we were to have the third one this year, but for COVID is our ancestors were taken away as slaves through the point of no return. We now receive them through the door of return. We receive them as kings and queens, a beautiful ceremony. And I hope that all of you will attend in 2021. It's a beautiful ceremony. And then we say we're providing a spiritual connection, a physical connection, an economic connection, and a spiritual connection to the continent. And we're saying what was our picture, in what areas can you invest? And I'm glad to tell you that those who have come have been looking for areas to invest in Nigeria. Is it going to be easy? No. Will there be culture shock? Yes. Is it a perfect situation? No. Are there issues that you felt, well, oh, why am I going through this? Yes. But we have to do it together. So that door of return has been the contribution of the Commission to engaging with the historic African diaspora. And I was also in New York not too long ago when I met when I went for the PAUD, and it was a fantastic event. So yes, we must be on the round table with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora. The Chinese are investing here. The Indians are investing here. Why not the African American or the black man in Brazil or your Aliko Dangote of Kenya? Why can't we just connect in that way? So, and like we said here, as long as the world looks down on Africa, they'll look down on you as a black person. Now, with what you're doing with the diaspora, let's start with the African Union. The African Union has recognized the sixth region of the, is it the sixth or seventh of the diaspora, but nothing has been done. It's just lip service. Nothing practically has been done. I'm asking Nigeria to champion it at the AU Summit and put it on the agenda to make it real. And then there are a lot of people coming to us and say, we've done our DNA, we're Africans. Can we get our Nigerian passport? It's something that we can look at. Ghana has done something, but you know, it varies from country to country. So for us in Nigeria, with the Diaspora Commission in place, we are determined that the diaspora, whether you are the Nigerian diaspora or the historic African diaspora, cannot be ignored. So we want to work with you and work with everybody that believes in the power of the diaspora to ensure that we can develop this continent. Yes, we have leadership challenges, but we need to put them on the spot as Africans wherever we find ourselves. We have leadership challenges in Africa, but nobody will develop Africa but ourselves. So like I said, I'll just make those remarks and tell you that just like some other African countries, Nigeria is moving forward with its diaspora. Not just the Nigerian diaspora, but everybody in the diaspora, whether you're American, whether you're in Brazil, whether you're in Kenya, wherever you are, let's work together to build this continent of our dreams. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. I will be inviting the governor to close the event, finalize this session, but also close the symposium for us. We were expecting Dr. Ezekiel Mutua to join us, but maybe stuck, but there's collective government responsibility. But having said that, and before I invite him, just my final words and vote of thanks. I'm glad, Honorable Madam Chair, that you mentioned AU. Officially at the AU, the organ that's meant to represent the diaspora is ECOSOC, Economic, Social, Cultural Council, which has got 20 seats, and it meets next week at the General Assembly. Each of the member states has got 2 representatives, and the Federal Republic of Nigeria, like Kenya, like the other 54, 53 countries, of course, we're live, the 55 African member states have got 2 representatives. And we are presenting a motion for the diasporas to formally be brought into the AU system. So we are hoping maybe if you can lobby also the Nigerian delegates so that we support. I think this is the 3rd General Assembly that we haven't had them before. let's find a way, a mechanism somehow that they have their 20 representatives so that they start being truly part of the 6th region.
Could
Having said that,
I add something on that, Shem? Just
yes,
to give you
Madam
also the
President.
Europe.
By the way, Joy, our moderator, is President, Founder, African Women in Europe. Go ahead, Sister Joy.
Yes, I just wanted to contribute here to bring a little bit of Europe in here as well, because African women in Europe, we are also mobilizing ourselves as diaspora to come and really connect. And I love the idea of the African Diaspora Symposium here that has brought different regions here. We can see come from US, Europe, and we are really connecting. This is the first time we are doing this, and I want to encourage this to go on in the future as well, because Europe, we have a lot of connection. We are bringing in for the women power, also the men diaspora, and we are working very along with our own resident countries. And of course, we are focusing our country back at home. We are planning to come back home. We are already investing in different ways. We are not waiting for the government or others to start with us. We have been sending money, as you all know. Remittance money has been on the highest, and we are actually mobilizing it in a different way. Especially in Kenya, you can see SACCOs, which are actually building up and really becoming big things, starting companies in the country and coordinating. And we need facilitating, especially back at home, that the countries in Africa that are ready to accept us as well. So yes, with the African women in Europe, Nigerians, I have big network of Nigerian community here in Europe, really working hard to make sure that we come back home and doing actually a lot of work in the continent. And yes, let's connect each other. That's the whole idea. I wanted to bring out Europe. We are ready for cooperation and partnership in the near future as well with American and everywhere else.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Allow me, finally, in my vote of thanks, to thank the Honorable Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, that's Federal Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Rachel Mamo. She graced the event through her Deputy Chief Administrative Secretary. We also had, via video link, Minister Delegates, the Royal Kingdom of Morocco from Rabat, that's Deputy Minister equivalent of Foreign Affairs. We also had heads of UN agencies, including the UN Resident Coordinator, represented by the Chief of Mission of IOM being International Organization of Migration. At the AU level, we also had the head of the Africa Institute of Remittances, Dr. Cisse Mamadou. We also had Deputy Chief Executive of Africa CDC, that's the Center for Disease Control, among other eminent Africans. We also had those who traveled physically from far and wide, from Somaliland, from Middle East, of course, from Indonesia. We had Bandung and all. We can't thank you enough. Last but not least, the companies that made this possible. Kenya Film Classification Board, Konza Technopolis, GeoNet Communications, Tattoo City, Books for Africa, Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is celebrating 50 millionth book. They brought 50 million books to Africa since. Ambassador Arikana, and among other colleagues. And of course, we cannot forget to thank our chief moderator, Walter Nyambane. He wears many hats, but officially is Senior Director of Youth in the Office of the President. We had our branding officer, we had our events coordinator, we had world leading surgeon, Professor Silvanus Ayeni of Nigeria, Washington, DC. We had, of course, Professor Kamarogo, Professor Nyongo talked about him, World Bank heading Africa Health Initiative in Washington, DC too. We had Rama, the young guy with Google who made all this technology happen, just showing Africans we can also do it, even within a span of 2-3 days, and ensuring that we are working fine. We had Sam Mwale, former permanent secretary or deputy head of state during President Kibaki's time, coming in from New York, representing the Kenya's private sector there. We had Prince Lekan from Lagos, formerly director, Nigeria Stock Exchange. We had ambassadors of Morocco, and ambassador of Zambia. Zambia currently heads non-state actors ECOSOC headquarters. So while Addis is headquarters of African governments, the non-state agencies that includes the diaspora, our headquarters is Zambia. The ambassador and the chair of Zambia Diaspora Foundation, the umbrella body, was also present. Najib Abida, one of Africa's leading experts on science parks, was part of the committee. Last but not least, the attendees, without whom there wouldn't have been an event. Without much ado, unless Dr. Malcolm, you have a burning issue, or Madam Chair, I want to invite Professor Nyong'o to close. But before that, if you have a burning issue, Dr. Malcolm.
Issue just to congratulate you, Dr. Shem, on a courageous accomplishment. It was very, very brave of you to try to stretch out and do this, and I think you did a great job.
Thank you so much. Madam President, your burning final one before we invite Madam Chair.
Yes, it has been an honor running the whole event, organizing, and really having a powerful message throughout the 3 days. And I want to thank you, Shem, for bringing us all together and the whole team. And we're looking forward out from the talk to the action. That's the next step. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Madam Chair, as you come for your final remarks, we did say before you come in, the meeting resolved in 2022, we are coming to Nigeria. Yes. So you will tell us.
With our pleasure. In fact, I was going to say so that we will be glad to host you for the next meeting in 2022. God spare our lives, and I hope that will be a resolution of this gathering that we will host you in Nigeria in 2022. And I look forward to seeing you all.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. Governor, Professor Nyong'o, please, final word, and then you can declare the meeting closed.
Thank you very much, Shem. I was going to say to Madam P.K. Oga, thank you very much.
And I was going to say Oshe.
Now, well, I apologize for not having been with you the last 2 days. As I said earlier, I was hosting the Kusi Ideas Festival in Kisumu, which went on very well and ended very successfully yesterday. But I want to invite you to another thing in Kisumu in 2021, November 16th to 21st, 2021. We shall be holding in Kisumu what is called the 9th edition of AfriCities. AfriCities is usually held every 3 years, one African city or the other. This is the first time it will be held in an intermediate city like Kisumu, and not in a capital city like Nairobi, Johannesburg, or Abuja, for that matter. And this is a creature of the Union of African Local Governments and Cities that was established the year 2005 to galvanize the efforts of subnational governments, especially in countries like Nigeria or South Africa, where we have federal systems, and even in countries where we have local government like Uganda, that all these local authorities and subnational governments and cities come together every 3 years to discuss their comparative problems and find comparative solutions. One of the major issues in 2021 is really the future and resilience of the African city as populations move more and more into urban centers in Africa at the rate of almost 20 to 40% per year. It's estimated by the year 2050, at least 50% of Africans will be living in urban centers, and it will keep on increasing. Therefore, development planning of the future must begin with urban planning. If we are to avoid what I call the Mumbai flu, where a city grows so immensely that when they started planning it, it's almost an impossible task. Building a subway in Mumbai became very difficult and very expensive. So we want to make sure that we start early in Africa to plan for urban living, the use of urban space, and its livability in terms of the environment, infrastructure, habitation, and so on. Because we're very exciting conference in 2021 here. And I would like to invite particularly the diaspora, because if there is to be any arena where we can meet, and meeting people from all African local governments and cities and have opportunities for investments and so on, it will be in Kisumu in November 2021. And I assure you, you'll not only have a good holiday, but also a good opportunity to exchange ideas with Africans from all over Africa. I'm extending this invitation particularly to Malcolm, because we'd like to have our brothers and sisters from the United States and the Caribbean as the extra constituency of Africa, from which we can get people to come and discuss with us during the Afrocities 9th edition in Kisumu. Having said that, truth be told, there are about 5 countries in Africa which must pull on, from the front on this diaspora initiative. These countries are first Nigeria, because of its population and dynamism and richness. Secondly, Senegal, because Senegal has been the center of cultural renaissance in Africa from the days of Leopard Sédar Senghor, and continues to be very vibrant culturally and otherwise in Francophone Africa. The third one is Ghana. I think Ghana has played an extremely important role in Africa's history, not just in terms of being one of the biggest centers of slavery in the slave trade, but Ghanaian politics has always been leading in African politics from the days of Nkrumah, and I don't think Ghana has given that space to many other people. So I think in Western Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal must be at the forefront of this diaspora initiative and movement for the continent. When we go to Southern Africa, I think Southern Africa as a whole, particularly South Africa and Zimbabwe, notwithstanding what has happened in Zimbabwe the last couple of years, we still have very vibrant intellectual community in Zimbabwe. So I think we really need to look at institutions in South Africa and Zimbabwe, which should really help us to drive this diaspora initiative effectively, because in the final analysis, politics is always local. And even revolutions must start from somewhere. And I want to be very bold enough from what I know about Africa, that we must really get the epicenters of these movements regionally to make sure that things move forward. In Eastern Africa, of course, Kenya and Ethiopia, notwithstanding the difficulties Ethiopia are going through today, but the fact that it's perhaps one of the oldest political systems in Africa, where important institutions like the ECA and OAU are capital or are operate from, I think Ethiopia becomes an extremely important in this endeavor. So I do hope we for Afrocities, for example, we are making a very deliberate effort to make sure that institutions from this country influence the regional dynamics to pull Africa together, because the regional blocks are very important in the dynamics of African systems, and we know where they are and where their epicenters are. And therefore, I think it's important that as we go forward, I hope that Shem, in your own organizational capacity and capability, which I know you have, please identify social forces and institutions in these areas to make sure that we pull from down to assure the success of the diaspora movement in Africa. I hope that as we go towards next year with the preparation for the next diaspora conference in Nigeria, and what I'm inviting to you as a dress rehearsal to the diaspora conference in Nigeria, for cities in Kisumu, that you respond positively, and I look forward to seeing you and giving you a dinner of ngege, that tilapia fish, on the shores of Lake Victoria, and perhaps also take you in the Kamarogo's boat to see the sunset and sunrise on Lake Victoria, the second biggest freshwater lake in the world. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Professor. You've course-marketed Kisumu County very well. I can't thank you enough. Maybe Sister Joy, the African anthem, the Kenyan anthem, if they're far, I think we'll pray and close the meeting. But just to mention, Excellency Governor, when you're talking Francophone, the main techie behind this, Rama, is from Benin. And of course, I forgot to mention Jote from Ethiopia and Eric Kainama from Nigeria. These are guys in the Midwest of the US, and they were very instrumental for this technology to run. We're very proud of them. So, Joy, please pray for us. Allow me to thank everybody, even those we forgot to mention by name, from Tunisia all the way down to Mozambique. Actually, our first session there was a bit of Portuguese as well, the reconnection. God bless. Keep you safe, everybody. Joy, will you? Otherwise, you pray for us. We can't hear you. You have muted.
National anthem ready, and we're gonna
Okay.
in 1 second.
Thank you very much. Be blessed.
Apologies, just 1 second. There's a problem with the sound. Check. Just give me 1 second.
Mungu nguvu yetu, amkeni ndugu zetu, tufanye sote bidii, nasi tujitoe kwa nguvu, nchi yetu ya Kenya tunayoipenda, tuwe tayari kuilinda na tujenge taifa letu. Kenya istahili heshima, tuungane mikono pamoja kazini, kila siku tuwe na shukrani.